all together so that when we come to them, we don't trip over them. Ready? Ability, field guide, habitat, predators, prey, and rodents. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually jump in, and you're going to actually all read out loud together. Now, if noise around you bothers you and you want to read into your whisper phone, that's fine. But you're going to start reading this text independently, but I need to hear you because I want to hear how you're growing and changing as a reader. So I want you to actually read verbally out loud so I can hear what you're reading. And then I'm going to put it down, and we're going to talk about the goals that you've set for yourself and the ways that you're changing as a reader. But I want to give you a quick reminder about the task. You guys have been working on, does it make sense? Are the words that I'm reading, am I pausing to ask, does it make sense? And what did I remember that I read? It's called checking for understanding. You're just checking to make sure that as you're reading this nonfiction text, what's important on this page and why, and then can you read it like the narrator might say it? So in this case, that's a little bit harder. Readers notice in nonfiction text how the text is going to go. So just like we did with our Lego article, as you're reading through it, read out loud and think about, how's this text going? How did this section here called I Found a Frog, how'd that go? We're checking for understanding and we're noticing the text structure. So as you begin to read, I'm going to be just writing and jotting some notes down about the moves you're making as a reader and then chiming in to coach you a little bit. Does that sound okay? I need to hear you reading. So if somebody reading next to you is bothering you, some may read fast, some may read slow, it's okay, but read verbally out loud so I can hear. Ready? Go.
Have you ever seen an unusual animal in nature? Did you want to learn more about it? Last week I saw a really neat frog, and that was the start of a wonderful adventure. What does a frog say when it sees something great?
What does a
Totally
frog
awesome.
say when it
What do you
sees
think that I'll
something
put this
great?
little piece in here for? What do you think that was?
Totally
To
awesome.
make it more interesting.
I
Did
looked
you find
for
that
the frog
illustration and
in a
caption
book
interesting?
called A Field Guide.
Right. Did you notice anything about this? Like, what
I
is this right
started
here
looking
besides
through the
just a
pictures
caption?
of the book.
I
was
it
amazed
makes
to
a
see all the
joke.
different
It
kinds
makes
of
it
frogs
do
and
you think
toads.
writers put those types of
Turns
things in there
out
to
I
engage
saw
the reader
wooden
and make the book feel funny?
Probably.
All right, very good. I really love how you are sounding out those syllabic words.
There
It's
are
something you've been working on.
almost
So keep
5,000
plowing
kinds
ahead.
of frogs
And
and
as you
toads.
read, I want you to think about how's this section going? How's the organized community? So
I looked for the frog in a book called A Field Guide. I started looking through the pictures in the book. I was amazed to see all the different kinds of frogs and toads. It turns out I saw a wood frog.
Did you know
There are
that
almost
frogs
5,000
and
kinds of
toads
frogs and toads.
relatives?
The biggest one is as big as a dinner plate. One of the smallest is the Brazilian bullfrog. Its real size is 7 feet.
Amphibians are cold-blooded animals. They
I
don't
wanted to know
make
more, so I went to
own
the
body
internet.
heat. They get
Did you
warm
know
from the
that
heat
frogs and
of the
toads are
sun.
relatives of
now, I
geese
noticed you're
and
pausing here at the end of this page. I want you to think about what you've read so far. Can you tell me what's making sense to you? What are some things you've learned so far?
Different kinds of relatives, like
They
the
don't
frogs
make their
are.
own.
Okay. They have different types of relatives. So if you were trying to think about that mental model like we were working on together, and
I
how
also
how
learned
does
that
what does it look like? Does it look like
most
boxes
lay
of
jellies
bullets? Does it look like
and
cause and
eggs
effect?
in
This
water.
section of text
The
here.
babies that hatch are
Probably
called
the
tadpoles
fox and
and
bullets.
Because it's kind of giving you some main ideas and details. So remember that the other goal that you're working on as well as trying to think about the
But
text
it's
structure
amazing what
is that
happens
pausing
as
to
they
stop
grow.
and check for understanding. As a reader, how often do you feel like you need to pause to go,
Their
okay, what did I
gills
just read?
disappear, and they grow lungs so they can breathe air like other land animals.
After a paragraph?
They
After
grow
about a
legs
paragraph,
and
and
then
then you get to
arms.
that paragraph?
Later,
Do
their
you
tails
write
shrink.
notes, or can you just kind of
And
retell
By
me?
the time their tail is gone,
Probably
they
write
move
notes would
on
help
to
keep
land.
track. So if you
I
have
saw
sticky
some
notes in
very
there and you
cool
wanna try to
photos of
jot
the
down
life
a
cycle
goal
of
just
frogs and
something, that'd be
toads.
great. Keep working.
Later, their tail shrinks. By the time
Frogs
their
are famous
tail
for their
is
ability
gone,
to leap with their
they
long,
move
strong
on
back
to
legs.
land. I
They
saw
leap
some
to catch
very
insects
cool
and other
photos
prey.
of the life cycle
A
of
frog can
frogs
catch
and
an
toads.
insect
So
in
you've
an
got a whole
instant with
paragraph
its
here.
long,
Let's
sticky
think
tongue.
about what did I just learn? What's hanging in my head now?
How they grow.
So this little section's about how the frog
The
changes
eyes and
across
nostrils
time
of
and
a
how it
frog
grows.
are on the top of its
Was there
head.
any part of this that you
Frogs
struggled
can
to make sense
see,
of?
smell, and breathe while they are mostly underwater. In fact, they breathe through their
babies
skin
that hatch
while they're
are called
underwater.
tadpoles.
Frogs can make an
How
amazing
they
amount
breathe.
of noise.
How they breathe. So
Male
that's confusing
frogs
to
sing
you.
loudly
Does it give
to
any
attract a
details
mate.
about how they breathe?
Tadpoles.
Do they breathe like humans?
They look like little fish.
Well,
Tadpoles
their
breathe
gills
with
disappear.
gills.
Mm.
And then they grow the lungs.
Okay, so that
Do
must
you
be
know
when
the
they're
differences
transitioning
between
from the
frogs
tadpole out
and
of the water.
toads?
What
and
happens
more
after
Here's
they
what I
into
learned from a
toad, is
book
that
at the
correct?
library.
So this section of text that you just read here, I noticed it does have a heading. What's the heading do for us as readers?
It tells
Their
us
gills disappear
what
and they grow
the
lungs so they
paragraph
can
is gonna
breathe
be
in
about.
here.
That whole section here, and sometimes when it crosses from one
They
page to
grow
the
legs
next,
and
we
then
forget that that
arms.
one's still over
Later,
here, right?
their tail
So this whole
shrinks.
section, if you were making a mental
By
model,
the
what
time
would
their
it look
tail
like
is
for that
gone,
part?
they
I was
move
sad
on.
to learn
For
that
the
frogs
life
and toads are
cycle,
food for
where
many other animals.
I like how you're
Bats,
using your
snakes,
tools, referencing
birds,
anchor
and
charts.
rodents all hunt them.
Very cool
But frogs and
photos.
toads have
Maybe
clever
just
ways
the main
to
ideas and
stay
details.
safe
Is it-
from
is it
animals
also
that
very
might try to
going on?
eat them.
Would you say that you could do it? And I'm noticing
Some
their
of frogs
illustrations
and
here,
toads, like
sometimes
the
the
wood frog I
illustrations help
saw,
us
are
think
the
about our
same
mental
color
models,
as their
right?
habitat.
So in a way, it's
This
kind
is
of
called
like
blending
the
in.
cycle, like
It allows them to hide better from predators.
So you might
Some kinds of frogs are so poisonous
Other
that just
times,
touching their
right?
skin is deadly.
So remember
These
also
frogs are
that
brightly colored to warn predators to stay away.
section. How much do you think you need to
That's also
read in
very
order
cool
to
photo
stop and go, okay, how much am I
life cycle
remembering?
of toads.
Maybe this section here.
Okay, and be sure to be checking out for
Some
look for
frogs try to
words
trick predators that
capture
might
your
want to
attention, maybe
eat
some of
them.
those words that have those Greek
The tomato
context.
frog
Okay,
puffs
keep
up
reading,
like a
you're
balloon
great.
when it
Catch
gets
insects and
when
have them
snakes
prey.
get near.
Frog
The snake thinks the frog is too big to eat. If the snake tries to eat it anyway, the frog leaps the liquid like glue.
Did you find the humorous part of the book? Yes. Okay, readers, I want you to pause wherever you are. Just kind of hold your finger on that page. And I want us to think about what we've been practicing. What have you guys been trying out today as you're reading?
Checking for understanding.
How's that helping you change and grow as a reader when you stop and check for understanding?
I think it helps me remember stuff better.
So if I just keep reading and reading and reading and I never pause to think about what I'm reading, am I really reading or am I fake reading? Yeah, sometimes we get in that habit of where we're just reading words, but we're not making meaning from them. And that's a goal that we're working on, to make sure that everything we read makes sense and that we can recall it and remember it. The longer our books become, the harder that task is. And that's why we use those text structures to help us hold on to it. I want you to think about what you've read so far. Can somebody tell me from your reading, what do all amphibians have in common? What did you discover that the amphibians have in common, maybe near the beginning of the book? And feel free to go back and find text evidence, because that's what helps us grow. So we're learning about frogs and toads, which are both amphibians. What do they have in common?
They're cold-blooded.
They're cold-blooded. What else did you find? They
They live part of their life in the water and part on land.
Yes, that's true. How can you tell a frog from a toad? How do you know the difference?
Frogs have smooth or shiny skin. Toads have dry.
I noticed you went straight to a text feature that offers that kind of compare. Oh, this section. Would you mind turning to the page he's on? What page is that? Page 11? On page 11, you'll see a table with frogs and toads. So it's cool because the writer actually gave you the mental model. That's a compare and contrast. He gives you a T-chart to make it work, right? So another quick question. If you were a scientist studying frogs and toads, like that was your job, what would you want to learn more about? Based on what you've read so far, because we'll be continuing this book tomorrow, but what's something more, if you were a scientist, you'd want to know about frogs and toads? Anything you haven't discovered yet that you're curious about?
Well, it says that some have 2 of these pouches while some only have 1.
Okay.
And I wonder why they're
Wondering
some
why
with
they're
2.
made that way. Okay. All right, we're going to do a little bit of word work really quick. So if you'll just take a couple of these tiles, we're going to write some letters. So go ahead and grab your marker, and I'm going to call out the letters in no particular order, but you want to write them down as I go. First letter is D, then R. And you might do lowercase if you, or it doesn't really matter, but we're going to be spelling a word with these. But D, R, T, O, A, P, and let me know if I'm going too fast, E, S, and R. Okay, so we've got some letters there. This is an activity called making and breaking a big word. This is a big word. And I want you to think about what, if you had to put those letters in order, what word do you think you could spell? And it's a word from our text. It's a word we looked at in the glossary. I see lots of you rearranging them and thinking about how those words, oh. And if you get stuck, you might look in the back of the glossary. I see somebody who's got one. She's done toad there. Now you will use all the letters, so you need to make a big word. This is making big words. Thanks. Look at you using the glossary to think about how it might go. All right, now what I want you to do, several of you have gotten there. Let's read this word together. What is the word, guys?
Predator.
Predators. Now we're gonna make it, we made it, now let's break it. Okay, we're gonna break it into syllables. Ready? So, predators. So when we break it into syllables, why do we do that? What's that good for? Because words keep getting bigger and bigger in our books, don't they, right? They're getting more and longer. They're called multisyllabic. And when we break them up, it can help us sound those words out as they get bigger. So can you read it for me again, broken up?
Predators.
So when you were younger, you might have listened to those syllables by putting your hand under your chin or clapping them out. When we get older, we start to do that a little bit more automatically, but sometimes when those big words come, I was reading a medical journal the other day, and that's a crazy big word, and I had to go back and use that strategy because I still need it, right? So great job. Let's do one more. Ready? And you can just grab either new cards or flip your tiles over and write on the back. We're gonna do one more. Here we go. You ready? B. I. H. A. T. A. T. Okay, those are your letters this time. You won't use these other ones. You might want to move those out of the way because they can get mixed in. Wow, you were quick. And I noticed some of you looking back in your glossary to figure out what those words might be. Okay, let's read it together. Ready? What is this word?
Habitat.
Do you guys remember what habitat means? What's the meaning of that word?
Where something lives.
Yeah, like a bird. What's its habitat?
Trees.
Its nest or the tree. And then the toads and amphibians, what's their habitat?
Water.
And sometimes when they get on the land. All right, so let's break this word up. How would you break it into syllables? Let's divide the syllables. Habitat. So if we were clapping, how many syllables would it have? 3 syllables. And when we put it back together and we read it nice and smooth, how does it sound? Habitat, right? But when we come across big words, we do need to break them down like that. So let's keep working on that because the bigger your books get, the more challenging words you're going to need, and you're going to need to rely on that strategy, okay? All right, thanks, guys. I want you to head back and finish up your task in your text here. And then as soon as you finish reading the Lego article, you will jump right into your good book. Thank you so much. You can just put all that stuff right in the middle.